How's it going out there, YouTube? My name is Jesse, and I am the curator for the Golden Age, and this is another
Lost Heroes of the Golden Age.
Yes, this is Lost Heroes of the Golden Age, and I am not a fanboy.
Then why are you drinking out of a Darth Vader cup?
What? I like straw cups. It's a lot easier. Anyways, we are doing a weird one today. As far as this hero goes...
Ocean man, take me by the hand, lead me to the land that you understand.
Really?
Ocean man, the voyage to the corner of the globe is a real trip. Ocean man, the crust of the man imbued by the sand, soaking up the thirst of the land. Ocean man.
I asked you not to do that.
You know that I enjoy singing.
Why Ocean Man? The hero is Torpedo Man.
Because it fit the theme, of course.
We have done other nautical theme heroes, and you never sang Ocean Man before.
It was long overdue.
I really don't want to say that your logic is sound on that, because I really... Anyways... we are covering Torpedo Man. Now, the weird thing about this is he is covered under two publications, and the second publication didn't have any original stories to do. I mean, they had the one original story, and they kept reprinting it under different titles. Farrell was the publisher of the first story, and 4-Star, which became Star, was responsible for the second set of stories, but they were all Torpedo Man. Now, when I'm going to go into the lead in, and I say that the second appearance of Torpedo Man was in Captain Flight Comics number 11, and Captain Flight doesn't appear in that. I looked at the comic book again. Technically he does, and technically he doesn't. Captain Flight does have a story in number 11, but it's a text story. So, oh yeah, Marvel pillow over there. So, technically Captain Flight does appear, but he also doesn't appear at the same time. So, he has a story, but his character never appears, which... I don't know. If you're going to do a Captain Flight comic, give him a story. All the other ones did. Anyways, I do have a neat little lead-in where I highlight some of his other appearances and the changes. And I'm going to give my general opinion, and then we'll cover the very first story. It's the first time. It's very 1940s. I actually like the reprint of the very beginning, because when they reprinted it 10 years later, they included a lot more text and a lot more dialogue, which makes it a much better story, and actually has it make a lot more sense too. I mean, seriously, they should have just scrubbed away the 1945 version and said that the 1955 version is the definitive version, because even though the panels are exactly the same, it's a much better written story. So let's go ahead and get into Torpedo Man, and you can see the changes. Let's do this. Torpedo Man, Don Wallace, first appeared in Captain Flight number 8 in 1945. The publisher was Farrell, and the created by was unknown. Now, Torpedo Man is weird. He did appear in he had 5 appearances, but only 3 stories. Now, his first and second appearance would be reprinted multiple times, but technically his third story would only appear once at the very end of his second appearance. Now, Captain Flight number 8 was produced by Farrell in 1945, and in this comic, we'll go over it. He appeared to be like what you would see as a swimmer, somebody who was tall and lanky, somebody you would expect to swim through the water. Now, in Captain Flight number 11, this is interesting. It is still Captain Flight, following the numbering system from Farrell, but this one was published by 4-Star in 1946. And in his second appearance, I swear it is a completely different person, even though it is the same guy. He is more of a bodybuilder type, and he has a torpedo tattooed on his chest, which he did not have in his first appearance. Also, the swimming gear in his first appearance, when he was wearing his helmet, had metal around the rim of the glass that you would normally see like in a deep sea diver. But in the next two appearances, he didn't have the metal at all. And he was more of a bodybuilder type, which is what they did with 4-Star. Now, he would appear in 2 publications by Star Publication, which I believe is what 4-Star turned into. Now, he would have his first appearance reprinted again in Blue Bolt Weird Stories in 1952, number 122. Now, in this one, it is the exact same story as his second appearance, yet he has different colorization. He still has the red trunks, but in this one, he would have yellow on, if in the first appearance, which I showed you when I mentioned the second appearance, he has yellow, which seems like a deep sea diver's out, like a wetsuit. And this time, you still see the torpedo, but the way the torpedo is there, it looks like it's part of the wetsuit. Now, I do believe that Blue Bolt's Weird Stories would become Ghostly Weird Stories, because as you see on the cover here, it still has the bats in the corner. And it's also Star Publication, so Blue Bolt was done by Star, which became Blue Bolt's Weird Stories, which turned into Ghostly Weird Stories, and Ghostly Weird Stories would pick up at the numbering that Blue Bolt's Weird Stories would end in. So they would change the name of the publication, but continuing with the numbers. Now, he would appear again in Ghostly Weird Stories 124 in 1954, and you see, here he is again. It's the exact same story, but instead of the wetsuit, he's back to just the trunks and the full exposure, torpedo on the chest, but he has yellow trunks and blue boots. And his second appearance of his first story would be in Black Cobra number 3 in 1955, which was also done by Farrell, which was 10 years after their first appearance. So the ones from Farrell are different from the ones done by 4-Star/Star Publications, even though they're all the same person. So they're the same person under 2 publications, many years apart from each one of them. So his first and his last appearance were the same one. Now, this is interesting. Black Cobra had 3 issues, and at the end of the Torpedo Man in 1955, it says, if you want more Torpedo Man, write to Black Cobra, which would be the Black Cobra comics, which is interesting because they ended in issue 3, so there wouldn't be any more issues to put any more Torpedo Man if they did decide to continue him. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this in Captain Flight number 11. It is still Captain Flight comics. Captain Flight does not appear in that issue at all. Even on the opening page where they're talking about 4-Star, it says Captain Flight. So Captain Flight, and in the bottom it says it. So Captain Flight does not appear in the 11th issue that it is named after him on. And I think it's the only time that he was also not the feature cover. He wasn't in there. Torpedo Man was the feature cover. So let's go over the first issue, and you've seen some of the recoloring. So we'll go over the first issue in his first appearance, and then we'll briefly mention the other 2 appearances of him. And then you'll know all there is to know about Torpedo Man. One more thing I forgot to mention, as much as my disdain for arrows, they didn't do that in Torpedo Man. They did something just as egregiously. They numbered the panels. This is just as bad as arrows. You need to write your story so it flows. When you're leading people around, you failed at storytelling. These are the 2 pages that I found. So I decided to read the second appearance of Torpedo Man, and it is such a better written story. It's the exact same pages recolored, like I said, but the wording, they've added extra text bubbles. They added extra squares. It's so much a better story. Like, even on the very last pages, I love the last 2 panels here, which I'll show you. You'll never take me alive. I can't swim, but if you come after me, the sharks will get you too. Look out, the whole school of killer sharks out there. It's over for him, Don. Don't cheat death, at least. Strange. He picked his own fate. Can't feel sorry for a guy like that. He even left his own diver without air, and oddly enough, that gold below is more than enough to pay off all of his debts and even give a huge contribution to the divers fund. Those 2 pages are even completely different from the original 2 pages, and it's actually what they added for the second appearance. It's more drawn out. It's more concise. The story is explained so much better. I mean, it may have been a 10-year gap, but I like this second story a lot more. There's a lot more conciseness to it. So if you ever get a chance to read the second story, I highly recommend it. It is the first panels. The panels from the first time completely overlapped, but a better, more concise story. I'm actually reading this, and it makes more sense than the first appearance, because it feels like there's so much more that was left out that written in this way is better. So this is much better. So 10 years, they actually got a better story. Torpedo Man. Was it fraud or fortune in Spanish gold that stained the sands of Cadaver Cove with human blood? Don Wallace, daring undersea detective, sought the key to the grim secrets without success until he used his amazing abilities as Torpedo Man. It's called Cadaver Cove. That can't be a real place. I mean, how do you even get the name Cadaver Cove? Death heralds the dawn at desolate Cadaver Cove. A body washed ashore. Lyman is making good his threats. Don, come quickly. Be right with you, Roger. A corpse. One of Lineman's divers, I think. You just said, I think. You're not even sure if it was Lyman. Let's see. Now will you believe I didn't ask you to visit me for nothing? Yes, I guess you wealthy sportsmen aren't all alike. God, that's stereotyping. So he tells him that he believes that the only ship out here... Well, I guess that makes sense that they're coming from the ship then. And he thinks that lineman is responsible for the body washing to shore, so they hop on a little speedboat and they go out there to investigate. Roger Payne, huh? Looking for trouble, maybe? No, Lyman. I heard you can double my money for me. So he gets on the boat because he's trying to be like, hey, I want you to get me money. So he doesn't shoot them while they're in there. Sure can. There's a fortune in Spanish gold below. How much will you put up? Now, he's asking for, he's like, I want to give you money to go in there. So he's like, yeah, now I'm going to hold a gun to you. How much money do you want to deposit? And he shoots at him. And our soon-to-be learned to be Torpedo Man, Don, knocks Lyman down and grabs the gun. When I get my hands on you, you're dead. Don't make me laugh. Let's go, Roger. So, looks like they get the hands out of another one of the goons on the ship, and they leave. As a detective, what do you make of this setup? You're a detective and a diver. Okay. So we see him getting dressed in his Torpedo Man outfit, which seems to be a helmet and trunks. Well, okay, there seems to be some sort of device that helps to propel him through the water. So he jumps in. Terrific pressure from the jet mixture of gasoline and oxygen dives Torpedo Man through the sea at 30 knots. Pressure from jet fuel mixture of gasoline and oxygen. Is that a thing? I should get to the bottom of Lineman's business fast now. So he dives down to the bottom and he actually sees that there is a ship there. Hey, boss. Payne's pal is down here in a queer-looking helmet. You can't say that word. I know. I highlight it every time I see it. I know it's all through the Golden Age, but every time I see it, it just catches me off guard. What'll I do? Kill him, Mac. If he learns the secrets and escapes, we won't have time to finish. So, Torpedo Man now notices that there's a diver down there with, I guess, a spear gun? Yeah. Okay. I thought it was just a regular trident, but he missed me by inches. I ought to finish him, but I've got another plan. He starts to swim away, and let's see. This tiger shark seems to have an appetite. The second before the shark can strike, a muffled roar splits the water. So Lineman starts throwing dynamite into the water to get Torpedo Man because I guess he told him that he was swimming to the surface. Let's see. Sure, I tossed ahead of the bubbles. He's done for. That blast almost knocked me cold. I'll go in and get some plastic explosives myself. And as he goes onto the beach, he hopes that nothing happened to his friend Roger, who invited him along. What is it now, Don? What did you find? Plenty. And here's another body. Come and see. This guy is going through bodies so quickly. It's any wonder anybody wants to work for him. It's Ed Cox, the county's biggest fruit grower. He loaded Lineman 5,000. Yeah, why would you want to do any business with Lineman? He's taking your money and then killing you. Don't do any work with him. Let's see. I've got a hunch Lineman has missed a trick, and a little depth charge will prove it. It's suicide to go in there again, Don. And he says he's going to phone the Coast Guard. As he goes down there, he tosses the plastic explosive into the sunken, I guess it's the sunken Spanish ship because they're looking for Spanish gold. And as the ship exploded, it shows a fortune, Spanish gold, right under Lineman's nose. Kill him this time, Mac, or you'll never see daylight again. Boss, a chest full of Spanish gold is in the wreck, but there's no sign of the torpedo guy. Give me air. And we see that he exposed the gold, and then here he is flying out of the water. You're Torpedo Man, not Flying Man. You're wrong, Mac. He's leaping for me. So he leaps onto the boat, and he knocks out Lineman. And then Lineman says one of the weirdest things right here before the end. And I'll read the last two panels so you can see how weird this is. So Lineman says, "You'll never take me alive. I can't swim, and I'll drown if you follow me." What? You'll never take me alive, and I'm going to drown in the water. Roger, quick, give me a hand. Don't risk it, Don. He can't cheat death like he swindled the public. Strange fate. He let his divers there to die with the gold that will pay his crooked debts. I don't understand the last two panels. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. Lineman didn't want to get taken alive and thrown in jail, so he jumps into the water knowing he can't swim and says that if Torpedo Man follows him, he'll die. And his buddy stops him and is like, let him die. And he's like, "Oh, that gold that's left there will pay everybody back." It's a weird scene, and that's how it ends. I mean, there's not more to the story to show people getting paid back. It just ends that way. It's really weird. And in his second appearance in Black Cobra, all they do is change the colors. They don't change the story at all. In his next two appearances, where he's more of the bodybuilder type, he stops these people from, I guess they're getting some underwater oil to make themselves rich, but they have a giant octopus guarding them. So if anybody suspects that they're trying to get rich off of the oil, they'll think it's the ink from the octopus, and he stops them. And in the very last one, some crooks are getting together in a secret underwater tunnel under the Statue of Liberty. Torpedo Man breaks up the meeting, and then the main crook wants to take over, I guess, a little base that Torpedo Man has. And Torpedo Man lets him get slightly electrocuted so he can be subdued for the police to arrive. Yeah, the other two stories, they don't make a whole lot of sense either. I hope you liked this story. I hope that you enjoyed this one. Yes, this is the one that The Voice wanted to do last week. But I do hope that you enjoyed this. If you have any requests, go ahead and send those in. I love doing requests. And I have more heroes on the way. So until next time, I'll be seeing you.